looking for something. A new way, a new understanding, a connection, some comfort. You've got questions, and Light on Living puts the spotlight on all the answers so you can shine. Lift and lighten the load of life's challenges and learn simple and easy ways to live a healthy, happy life. You'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you. You're invited to hear new, see different, and feel more as Lisa shines the light on living.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Light on Living. I'm Light Coach Lisa, holistic nutritionist and life coach, helping to lighten the load of life's challenges. Well, today, a super needed, a super helpful, and oh goodness, I'm already super grateful for today's show, marketing your message through media. Well, you guys got to bear with me. I think I have the most perfect analogy for today's show, and it's kind of, it will pull together, so just, you got to follow this one. So I'm quite the girly girl, and I wash my hair, and then I blow dry my hair, and then I straighten my hair, and there's a lot of cords going on, and today I was like, oh, and I have to charge my phone. And so I had all these cords, and I needed that power, that's the power, that's the energy to give me that power for the tools that I really needed to look and feel my best and be ready for the day and for everything. And I was unplugging one thing and the other thing and switching it around, and it got tangled. And, you know, in that moment you got really frustrated just for a second, like, what's this going on? Why can't this just work smoothly? And so I untangled them all. And of course, that made me think of Christmas lights and how every year, if we don't do it properly the year before, we get that big nest of Christmas lights. But we, again, look at that beauty, like the twinkly, the sparkly, the lights that's going to shine once we get that mess untangled. And of course, the final thing I'm wrapping this up is that reminded me of extension cords, because it's now almost summer, and if you have an electric lawnmower, you pull out that cord, and it's like, oh God. And what is an extension cord? An extension cord gives you that reach, that further out there, that like, just how far can I go? So when you pull those three things together, my question to everybody is, you know, you've got the message, you got there, but are you ready? You're feeling your best? Are you powered up and bright? And are you in a position or a state to expand? And who I've got with me today is, I'm just so excited. She's just a lovely lady. She doesn't need anything else other than that. Stacey's a lovely person and a lovely lady, but I do want to tell you about her. Her name is Joanne McCall, and she is a publicist extraordinaire, but she's just done so much. So I am going to read the bio because there's so much in there that I have to share this. So Joanne's mission is to educate, inspire, and train entrepreneurs, small business owners, consultants, coaches, speakers, and authors to get media attention, particularly top-tier national media, and then deliver great, compelling interviews. She is dedicated to helping others get their message out to the world in a big way via their platform and tying into top-tier media, which we're going to ask her what that means later, because I think everybody needs to really understand that and go, is that for them or not? Well, Joanne McCall, she's created something called Joanne's Media Boot Camp for those who feel like the best kept secret out there. Are you guys out there? Do you know that? That's a big one. And also for those who are successful in their business but want to take it up a few more notches. Get the specialized training and confidence, big one, to land the big guns, top-tier national media. Well, McCall is unique in that she's a media insider and a veteran publicist who operates on a first-name basis with hundreds of top-tier producers, editors, and writers. And such outlets, and by the way, I had to laugh at the word outlet as I was thinking about all the power cords and outlets and how connection there was. But she's worked with USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, Investment Business Daily, The View, Today, The Huffington Post, Yahoo, and many others. Her clients include business consultants as Brian Tracy, was so lucky to meet him once in my life, and Ken Blanchard, radio host and author Dave Ramsey, New York Times bestselling author Janine Roth, the Deepak Chopra Center for Wellbeing, and the founder of NLP, Dr. Richard Bandler, amongst so many others. And so through webinars and teleseminars and shows like Light on Living and consultations, she trains entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants on how to attract that media, work with them once they land the interview, and finally helps them to deliver a fantastic interview. The reason why I really want to read all that, because there's so much that she does, and I was just so drawn to her and just felt like she's just this incredible person who really understood and gets where people are. So, Joanne, I'm welcoming you to the show, and I'm so happy to have you here for everyone.
Lisa, I'm delighted to be here, and wow, I loved your story, and the introduction was very sweet, so thank you. But I have to tell you this, I'm just as tied to technology as everybody else, because I got up this morning and I was excited about doing this interview and all that, and I have a landline specifically for doing interviews because the sound is so much better than a cell phone, as I'm sure you know. And so I pick up the landline to kind of, I was going to call my husband, and I pick it up, and there's no dial tone. I'm like, what? No, So I hang it up, I pick it up again, thinking, oh, maybe it'll be better now, and it wasn't better. So I had to call the phone people, and you know what that's like when you go through the phone, list of press 1, press 5, press this, press that. I finally got someone, and so it took quite a while. He's checking with his text and putting me on hold, and then the next thing I know, I'm offline. So not only do I not have a landline, but I'm not online. And so then I thought, okay, universe, I'm getting tested here. So I'm still holding with this guy. So I went up and I scrubbed the bathtub because I had to do something else to take my mind off of all this. So I'm scrubbing, and then he gets back. Anyway, the dial tone came back. I got back online. Everything is fine. But that was my morning. So I just wanted you to know that.
You know what? First of all, I'm so grateful that it all turned out. But that is scary, and that's actually a great segue into this kind of question. Sometimes we think, okay, why is there so much interference? Why am I coming to so many? Am I not supposed to get my message out there? Am I not supposed to be on the show? And then still having that faith, but still not being attached to outcome. And that's what, there's a lot of challenges with media and technology. So that is a perfect, everybody's going to be scrubbing their tubs now.
That was, that's an excellent point, because I think that ties to belief somewhat, because my belief is if those kinds of tests, if you will, are happening, to me, it's more, how much do you really want this?
Yeah.
And then, so it's not only how much do you really want this, but also, can you just deal with this and not get all freaked out about it? It's sort of like, can you just handle this emotionally and know that it's going to be okay, and then just follow through and do what you need to do? So that's what it was like for me, and I think that's more what it's about. I don't believe it's about maybe you shouldn't have this. So I think that's a question of belief. Yeah.
You know what? That's really nice. That's actually taking, in a weird way, self-responsibility. Because you're right. You're not saying, okay, well, if the universe doesn't want me to do it, then I'm not doing it. Because no, you're right. Then that would be completely opposite of what you actually wanted in the first place. And you're right. You're not anchored into that desire.
No, you're actually setting up a kind of a contradictory thought kind of going on. So then, then you get all confused inside, and I don't like that. I like clarity. I love clarity. I love knowing what I want, and I love working with people who know what they want too, and they feel aligned with that. And then it's much easier to decide how you're going to go about getting there, and then taking the inspired steps to get there. So if you're all lined up, it happens a lot easier than if you got all this conflicting stuff going on, and I know you know that.
Right, tangled cords. No.
Tangled cords.
That power is always going there. Well, so the interesting thing, and I always want to help people along with this, because it's one of my biggest questions that I've always asked, because there was a time that I didn't have a radio show and a time where I didn't take the stage. How does one, and maybe it's a personal story that you could share with us about you, but how does one know when they are ready to, and they are clear enough, and they want it enough, and when is the right time to reach out and get a publicist, or to get up on stage, or to really get that message out there?
There's really two parts to your question. One is the whole internal piece, which I know you really help people with in your coaching and that sort of thing. You've got to have the internal pieces in place. I can certainly speak to, the external things that need to be there. So it's time for you to really reach out and go after media when you have certain things set up, like you have to have your website ready to go, you have to have your own positioning ready to go, and by positioning, what that means is who you are in the marketplace. Chances are, whatever it is you do or whatever it is you want to promote, there are other people doing something similar, right? Yeah. And so you want to look at, some people call them competitors. I call them niche mates. And I got that from a couple friends of mine, Jeffrey Van Dyke and Suzanne Falter, who use the term niche mates, and it simply means those other people who share the same space that you do. And the truth is, they could be affiliates with you someday. I mean, you could be partnering with them. You're doing similar things. So competitor just to me sets up sort of an adversary relationship, and I don't really like that. So anyway, niche mates. So there's other people doing something similar to what you're doing, and the first step is to really go out and look and see how they are positioning themselves. So what are the things that they are stressing, highlighting as an advantage to what they bring to the table? What are the features and benefits that they're offering to you? How are they talking about themselves? And pick maybe 5 different people who are pretty successful in doing this and see what they're doing. They'll all be saying something a little bit different. They'll all be stressing different aspects. And then what you want to do is really highlight your uniqueness. What is it about you that's different from what everyone else is out there doing? And through doing that, it makes room for you. So I can give you an example if you're interested.
Yeah.
So one of my clients, Zach Mercurio is his name, and he wrote a book called The Invisible Leader. And it's all about purpose, having purpose in your work, in your mission, in what you're doing in life. And as you and I both know, and I'm sure everyone listening knows, that's a busy area. There's a lot of people in the purpose field. There's a lot of people. Simon Sinek comes to mind. I mean, he's What's Your Why was his big book, and most people know who he is. He's had TED Talks, and you can find him everywhere. He's been very successful. So through our meetings, Zach and I talking about this, because I've said, there's a lot of people doing it. How are you different? And we would talk it out. And what finally came out of our meetings is that Simon helps people to get excited about their why and figure out what it is. Zach is the one who takes you through step by step how to put it into place. Very different.
That is, and that's a confusing point for a lot of people. They think, well, I like this and I like this, and people say this about me, but maybe I don't want to go that way because I want to go this. And then how do you pull it together? So that is important, because when you're not excited, you don't move forward.
Right. You need to be excited, and you need to figure out exactly what it is that you do that really is unique that you're bringing to the table. And sometimes that takes, talking to someone else, because very often our own strengths, we're just sort of oblivious to them. I mean, we think, oh, everybody can do that, and no, they can't. Your strengths are your strengths. And so sometimes we need someone else to point them out. And actually that's really a good technique, is you can go to those people that maybe your work associates or other coaches or whoever is in your network that you really trust, peers, peer-to-peer, and ask them, what about me do you see is my greatest strength, or a couple of my greatest strengths? What is it that you see? And it's not about getting praise and feeling all pumped up and good. It's about knowing how other people do view you, because, again, you may just whitewash it. That's nothing. Anybody can do that, and they can't. So it's good to have other people tell you, and write it down. Get it written down. This could be a part of what your special branding is. So you need to know those things.
You know what's funny, Joanne? I'm right now reminded, because last show we had Daniel Cohen on, Rabbi Daniel Cohen on, and one of his exercises was when trying to create the legacy that you're going to do, ask people the top 5 words or something like that would be written on their tombstone. And so in a weird way, it's coming together, like we need that for even present moment.
Absolutely.
That's kind of neat how that is.
Absolutely. He's wonderful. What were your 5 words, if you don't mind my asking? Did you actually think about that, or are you still? I did, and I wrote them down at the time, but I actually can, because I feel that, when for me, I think I really am a happy, enthusiastic, joyful, positive person. And I can't tell that. It's not you. I'm just kidding.
And the other one is, and it's fairness. There is a complete fairness to me. I want everybody to feel so equal, like what you had said about being adversarial in competition. I love the niche mate thing. Like that just makes me happy. And because, so those are the words that I know that people see that around me and feel that around me. Because I really I think that's what are your 5 words?
Well, I haven't sat down and come up with them yet, but but it's such a good question. Similar. I would say compassionate, and because I love helping others to reach, the goals that they want to reach, and kind of get past anything that they might feel is standing in the way. So I think compassion, and I think I'm pretty positive and enthusiastic also. So
I have to say, Joanne, I want to offer 2 words to you because this is what I really love. When I saw your video, your 5-minute video about who Joanne is, you have this confidence and belief in yourself that as you are the invisible leader with that. When I watched your video, I thought, and you had been talking about, sure, I could have lived in New York, but I need the mountain air. I need nature. I need this, and I can always visit. And you are so integral to what your needs are, and that allows you to be helpful, to be those things. And so,
thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And knowing who you are allows you to make the right choices for yourself, even when other people might be telling you otherwise. There's that kind of inner bottom line knowing that helps you to make decisions, even when others are saying something else. So,
that's the one thing. Now, we have about 30 seconds before our first commercial. And what I want to ask and have everybody know is what you had just actually said right there about no matter what anybody else might be saying, you have to check in with yourself and know what's right. So my question when we come back will be, which media outlet? Because some people love Facebook Live. Some people want to just write. Some people want to step out on stage. Some people want to work out with clients. And my question to you will be, when it comes to really getting your message out there, are there certain things you just have to do, no matter if you like them or not, or are there one kind of leading thing right now? So when we come back, we're going to find out your answer.
Okay.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Welcome back to The Cat Show. Up next, we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, and of course, companionship. Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
Fantastic cat. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Light on Living. I've got Joanne McCall here. She is one of the top media publicists, and she is sharing successful tips that will help you get more media coverage. And so before we switched off the commercial there, my question was, because I struggle with this, is there's so many different media outlets. Which one to choose, which one to get there? Should we do them all? Should we scatter our energy? Or maybe we should, like, that's sprinkling the grass seeds everywhere. Or should we just be picking one and sticking with it? So, Joanne, we would love your guidance on this.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to give you my advice on this because it's going to be different than what a lot of people might be saying to you. Okay. And that is, you do not have to be everywhere. No. There are many people who will tell you you do. You have to be visible. You have to be on every platform. You have to do this. Actually, you should be on Twitter, and you should be tweeting every single hour throughout the day and night. And what you can do is in the morning you can write out all 24 tweets and schedule them to go out after. I mean, come on. That's great for like Southwest Airlines and Coca-Cola that have whole departments that are handling each social media platform. But for most of us, no, that's really not going to work. We have other things that we need to do, including actually doing the work that we're being hired to do. Mm-hmm. So you do not have to be everywhere. However, you do have to be where your audience is or the audience that you're going after. You have to be where they are. And secondly, you should be doing the things that you love to do. So I'll answer the second one first. If you love to write, then you should have a blog for sure. If you love to be on camera, then you should be doing video and uploading it. You should be doing Facebook Live. You should be doing anything with a camera. You should be doing television if you can get on television in your local area or nationally even. If you love audio, you love doing shows like this, you love doing podcasts, you love doing radio, then you should put an emphasis on that if also your audience is there. So those are really the two things to consider. Where are your people and what do you love to do? It's like a Venn diagram where those two things overlap. That's what you should be focusing in on.
That is so helpful, extremely helpful. And you know what's fun? So I just, as you can, I love doing radio and I love doing podcasts and I love speaking and sharing. And so that's why I feel at home when I do this. So it's very comfortable. And I see what you're saying because what starts to happen, and I don't know if anybody else listening, if you feel this way, I'd love to hear from you on my Facebook, Lisa Berry, Berry, is I feel like I'm failing when I'm not doing all those things. Like, oh my gosh, no, I can't be on Twitter as well as this and this. And, you know, then it makes me want to not quit, but just like tune out and go sit with the cats for a minute and go, oh my gosh.
See, that is not helpful.
No.
That's not helpful. And I think everybody, you know, experiences that from time to time, or a feeling of overwhelm. Just overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I can't do everything, so I might as well do nothing. And that's okay. So the prescription for that is that, again, you zoom in on where your audience is and what you love to do, and then ignore everything else. And also that means there are people you're going to have to ignore in terms of the advice they give. And I don't mean like your personal friends or, you know, people there to help you, but I mean there's a lot of experts out there, right? And they're saying all kinds of things, and some of the advice they're giving isn't for you. They don't necessarily tell you that. But it isn't always for you. So back to the example of the major brands like, you know, Alaska Airlines, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, I mean, the big, you know, Zappos, the big brands, their advice is going to be, yes, you should be out there talking to everybody, and yes, you should be doing everything, but that's not for individuals. No.
Right.
So I'm giving you permission. I'm giving you permission right now to let go of that idea and then decide what it is that you do want to do and create a plan for yourself that's doable, rather than setting yourself up for failure, which is what we all do when we think we need to be doing everything and we can't possibly do it. It's like creating a to-do list that is a month long, and you think you're going to get to all that in a day. I mean, I'm guilty of that myself. You know, I
can't believe you actually just brought that up. My next question literally was going to be mapping out your calendar because, you know, you as a publicist, I mean, people are now they've been inspired, they are connecting to you, so they think, okay, I want to hire Joanne, and she's going to do this for me. So your role is probably different than, or maybe it's not, than if I didn't have a publicist and I was going to work it. How far do people need to map out, and how do we know what can we expect? Because I love that you just said that people do a to-do list that really is going to take a month, and they think, nope, getting done today.
So what was your question again? How do they map out? How do they map out?
would you think it's reasonable? I guess people have to know what they're doing, but like, is it a monthly thing? Is it a 3-month rollout? So how do we know how long to map out our media kind of thing?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I like to ask people, when we're having these conversations, what they would love, where they would love to be in a year. What would they love to see happening? So I often start with, what's your vision? I mean, ultimately, and maybe it's out more than a year. Maybe it's out, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. But starting with what's your ultimate vision? I mean, what would you really, in your heart of hearts, what would you love to see? So you can start there and then start working your way back. So you work back from that. So it might, and then you have different categories. Like, are you going to be speaking? If you're going to be speaking, then you might start writing down who do you want to be speaking to, who are the audiences, and that kind of thing. And bring it back all the way to where you're working within the next year. And from that point, we create campaigns, like media campaigns.
Yeah. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, a campaign is when you decide that you have, say, a book or a program or something that you want to promote specifically, yourself too, of course. You're the expert, or you're the person who's going to be out there talking about it. You have a book or some sort of product, and a campaign can be anything from, a couple of weeks to 6 months, for example. Wow. And just, you want to think about, we go back to the question, where is your audience? So where is your audience? Are they on certain platforms? Are they, watching television? I mean, some people still are watching television in their local area or national TV. Do you want to be doing like a blog tour? Do you want to be with all the bloggers? Like I've got, people who are have parenting books, and they want to obviously connect with all the mommy bloggers because they have this huge network, which is a great way to go. So this might be easier if we think about something specific. So I could take that example, or maybe, Lisa, you have something that you would like to discuss.
Oh, I would love your example, because you have some fabulous people that have reached out and you get to work with. So, yes, I would love to hear that.
Okay. So, well, thank you. And I feel really lucky. I do have some amazing people. Well, all right, there's one gentleman I'm working with right now, Patrick. He has a book called Anarchy, Inc., which is kind of a scary title. And it's all about, it's not really, well, it kind of depends on how you look at it, but it's all about artificial intelligence and blockchain, which is a huge topic right now. A lot of people are talking about this. And so his whole message is how to prepare for the changes that are happening and that are going to be happening. Mm-hmm. And so our first sweep is we're talking with all the media that really is focusing in on artificial intelligence and blockchain. So, I do a search and figure out who's really discussing that, and then that's who we go and talk to. So that's kind of like level number one. Let me think of another example that might work with your audience. Patty Clark had a book on spirituality and mindfulness. Her whole thing was on mindfulness, and we spent the first part of our time together really getting her messaging out, how she was different from, because there's a lot of people discussing mindfulness now. I mean, it's really broken into the mainstream. I'm sure you've seen that, and you're seeing it all the time, right?
Even when I do corporate events, like super solid corporate, banking and wealth and investments, it's like they're bringing, we'd like to talk about mindfulness. And I'm like, all right.
I know. Isn't that amazing? It's really just been in the last year or so. Would you say it's the last year?
Absolutely,
that's really, it's definitely mainstream now. So with if anybody's going out with a mindful message, which I imagine many of your listeners are, then you want to look at, again, what other people are doing and how can you be different. And my work with Patty, that's really what we did. We came up with 7 tips, 7 suggestions for how people could work this into their daily lives. And the beautiful thing about it was several of her key tips were tips that you haven't heard over and over and over again. And I would love to stress that to anybody, that when you can come up with a way of saying something, there are those who say there's nothing new under the sun. And that may be true. I'm not really sure, but if you can say something in a new and different way, it just perks up people's ears. So coming up with a way or tips or suggestions that are new and different and, you know, really from your own heart and your own soul that will help other people can just help you tremendously. So now, in the case with Patty, we went after magazines first because they have a longer lead time. And, of course, there's online magazines. Most magazines have an online component now. But to actually get into print magazines is, like, very competitive and popular right now because it's tough to get. I mean, there's limited space. You know, with websites, you just add another page. It's pretty easy.
Right.
But, you know, it's prime real estate now to actually get into print magazines. But we started with that because they have a longer lead time. And then we moved on to online sites that talk about this issue. And we really looked at how she's presented. She speaks more to women than men, so we focused in more on women and where they like to go and where they like to get their helpful tips and information. And she also loves to do podcasts, so we set up a number of podcasts for her. And what else did we do? So I think it was mostly journalists, online sites, and podcasting that we did with her.
And that's enough because just doing that is going to consume some time and really, not repeat her message, but like really get her message known so it sounds familiar, so people are hearing it and seeing it.
Yes, and then that's another really excellent point because you may have the same key messages. You want to be consistent with that and somewhat repetitive with that so you get known for it. But you also have to say these things in a little bit different way because different outlets want something unique to them.
Right. You know, I love that actually came up because I get really, well, I'll just say it, bored of saying the same thing over and over, you know, with my dating your diet, falling in love with the right food. And then I seem to say it and I feel like I'm just repeating stuff, but it's always to a different audience, or sometimes people do need to hear it over and over. And I needed to honor how we all learn and remember and get inspired because we always don't get it the first time.
Oh, Lisa, yes. I mean, you're going to get sick to death of your own messaging. Yeah. You know, when I originally, my first career was in radio broadcasting, and I had a talk show, but I also did some music shows from time to time. And the popular songs, I was sick to death of hearing certain songs, and people were just realizing it was a hit. So it went on and on and on. It went on forever, and I thought, oh, my God, if I ever have to play this again, I'm just going to, you know, scream. I'm going to run out of here screaming. And I learned to just, you know. So that's an excellent point. You cannot go by just your own, you know, gee, I'm sick of this, so other people must be too. That's not true.
Right.
So that's where testing things comes into play. Because lots of people haven't heard your message yet. So if you need to get feedback, you, of course, can keep, you know, building your own online community and asking people, but you can also get on the ground and do speaking engagements because you're going to get feedback from people in real time by doing that.
Right.
And if they start, you know, yawning or telling you, gee, I've heard that a million times, then maybe it's time to freshen up the material. But I'm willing to bet that's not going to happen. And it'll be good for you to realize you really are onto something. I love your message. I haven't heard it over and over again. So, you know.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And you just brought up something really important. So some of us can get really cozy, comfy in our own community. As you just said, we're building up our own following. And I want to ask you how important it was and why. Why would we step out? Like, so if I have mine and I'm building my own community, but maybe it is important for me to get onto other people's shows and to other people's things. So what is the balance there and how important, and at what point and how would we do that?
Well, yeah, let me give you an example of what's been going on in my work for the last, I'd say it's coming up on 3 years now. Many of the thought leaders that I'm sure if I said their names here, most everybody would know who they are. These are people who are out there and known, and they have a huge following. And they've been coming and saying, I need to get on other media sites. I need to get some publicity here because what's happening is every time I launch something, I have just as many unsubscribes as I have new subscribers.
Oh.
And so they had hit like a ceiling with their lists, with their numbers. They had hit a ceiling. And so they had to start reaching out to bring new people into the fold, if you will. And that's always going to be the case. You're always going to want to, so it's a matter of ratio. So there's a certain amount of time you spend with your community, and you give them added content, and you help them, and maybe upsell them into your coaching or your programs or whatever it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And you need a ratio of going out to brand new people. For one thing, it's a great opportunity to test your own ability to sell it, if you will, to make sure your key messages are on point and that it gets people to go, oh, that sounds really great. I want to get involved in that. So it's an opportunity to test that and see if you've really got it nailed. And if you don't, you have an opportunity to hone that and make it even better. So, and it keeps you on your toes. I mean, going out to new people keeps you on your toes. It also can be very rewarding because they haven't heard your message yet. So even a talk that you're sick to death of hearing yourself, you may get to our point earlier, you're getting, it's falling on new ears, and their eyes are lighting up, and they're wanting to be more involved with you, and they're getting involved with you.
I appreciate that you shared that. Yeah, that is really, so I've just even myself, and I like to share this with everybody, I started dating your diet so long ago that, and then I put it to bed, and then I kind of just woke it back up after about 2 or 3 years while sleeping. And what I noticed that now, because as you just said, even the word mindful and the essence of being mindful has just come out, let's say in the past year, now bringing dating your diet back, I get to actually sprinkle newness on it. Because it's not going to be, the exact, and I love that you said you could step out into a different audience, and they haven't heard in the first place anyway, so now you can, so sometimes, putting on a new outfit on your message, get it out there.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think you've got your core message. I think it's great. Dating your diet is, because the first question is, what is that? It sounds good. What is it? And so then, you get to explain it. Well, it's this. And I think it's a unique take. It's not one I've heard before.
Look at that. Our commercial snuck right up, and I did not watch. That was my fault. I'm so sorry, Joe. But when we're back, we're going to talk about honing in on that message and people's messages when we come back.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human. And she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Well, thank you again, everybody, hanging up in here with us as we do this whole publicity. What is it about? How do I get my message out there? And I just want to let everybody know that we are speaking with Joanne McCall, McCall, and she's super easy to find on Facebook there, as well as JoanneMcCall.com. And actually, I want to invite everybody to watch her video. It's just 5 minutes, and you really get to know her, and that's actually how I fell in love with her. And you're just so down to earth, and you realize that, you know, we all kind of want that same thing, and we all do, the ones who really want to get our message out there, like you said, whether it's a book or it's a song or a show or anything. And it's just finding that message and getting it there. I do want to speak to you about platform, but let me finish off with that first thing I want to wrap up with, messaging and packaging that message. And is that something a publicist like you helps or tests or anything, or do they need to have that done before reaching out to the public?
It really depends. It depends on who you're approaching and who you want to work with. Personally, I think if you find someone who does help with the messaging and helps you to put all that together and then helps with the outreach, does the outreach, that's probably the best of all worlds. Not all publicists do. Some of them really just go for the media piece of it and get the interviews and get the placements and the features and that kind of thing. And that's fine. I mean, it's not a requirement. But I think it's helpful. I really think it's helpful. And you really get to know each other in that process, too, which I think is invaluable. And it builds a trust. You really want to have, I guess I'm launching into another piece, Lisa, but you really want to have trust, you know, in the person that you're working with, that they get you. You need someone who really gets you. Not necessarily everyone will. Some people just will take it and get it out there, and they may do a great job, but I think having someone who really understands what you're up to and what it is that you want is just the best of all worlds. It creates a synergy and a wonderful team, and I think that that's very valuable.
Yes, and that's a long-term relationship. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've got people I've worked with for, almost 20 years. Now, it's not constant because they don't always have something that we want to do a campaign for, but every time something comes up that we want to build a campaign, we're working together on it again. So there's people I've worked with for quite some time, and that's very rewarding. It's really wonderful.
Awesome. It's just a fun story share. Is there, I don't know if you can say their name or maybe you don't have to or everything, but there's somebody that you started out with where they really were, I know, just for lack of a better word here, teeny tiny. Nobody really knew, but they really had that vision. Like they knew they would be out there in a big way, and then they did come to that success just because you have been in the industry for long enough to see this happen.
Yeah, I mean, doing what I do, it's doing anything. You get to know people, you get to know them better, and that I include media in that. A lot of them, I consider them my clients too, because I'm looking for people for them. And so it's like a 2 to 3 way street. You know, we're all kind of helping each other. Yeah. And the more time you do it, the better you get to know people. So that's always, I think that's always a positive thing.
See, it's always back to relationships. I always say it's always back to dating. It's always back to relationships.
It is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
You talk about audience. Now, I would love for you to explain the difference, everyone, between platform and audience. And I just want to share this. So I went down to the Hay House Writers Workshop in when did I go? In October. And the word platform, that's actually what I think about the most when I come back. That was my one word I came back with. And how important it is to build your platform and that. So first of all, is there a difference between platform and audience?
Well, a platform, just think of it as a way that you reach your audience. So it originally came from when speakers would go out and talk to a crowd. They stood on a platform so that they were raised up a bit and everyone could see them. So a platform is how you are able to be seen. And so that would be your website, blog if you have it. It's video, audio. It's all your social media. It's how people would find you. So that's your platform. It's how you're being seen.
Okay.
Audience is who's seeing you.
Right.
So that makes up the people. Yeah.
Okay, and that's why they say build your platform, because if you're not standing on a platform, nobody can see you.
Well, and that's an excellent point to bring up, and I'm glad you did, because I think a lot of people don't understand this yet, but we're working on it. And that is when you want to go to top tier or secondary or tertiary tier, but particularly top tier, and you want coverage through them, they also want to know that you have an audience that you will take them to, because they're also looking to grow. Even if they're top tier and they're huge, they still want more people. They still want to grow. I mean, it's like it's a constant in life that everything wants to expand. That's just like a law of the universe, and that includes top-tier media that you might want to go to. So let's say you've always had this dream you wanted to be on the Today Show, or, you know, wherever it is, but let's pick the Today Show. You've always had that dream, which is a huge platform. So when you approach them, you definitely want to show that you have something going on. You've got a lot of people already paying attention to you. You do have a platform where people can see you. And just as a little side note, buying Twitter followers or any kind of followers is not a good way to go. I mean, you want legitimate, real people following you that are interested in what you have to offer. And so when you go to like a Today Show or any other major platform, let's say you did a post and it went viral, you know, through many, many different people. There were like lots and lots, like 300 shares or 1,000 shares or whatever it is. I would take a screenshot of that, and when you're pitching the show, I would send that along because it shows you've got some stuff going on. Now, if you don't have that yet, this is something that you can be working on and building, and I don't want you to take this message and feel bad about it. This should be inspiring and help you to feel good about it and give you a direction to work on and to work toward. That's the whole purpose, is to be working on it.
Yes, I love that you just said about working on it, because I remember, you know, the first time, well, it'd be years ago now, I don't even remember, like that I joined LinkedIn or I joined anything, and you have these goals like, I want to be in that 500 plus, you know, and I want to be there, but to also give yourself that understanding and time that you don't want them fake. You don't want to be just buying them, because that doesn't mean anything in the end. And what will keep you going with your message and stuff is knowing that there are real people who care about what you're doing and delivering. And there's an audience for you.
And you can start with smaller platforms, you know, bloggers, and, you know, that they maybe don't have the huge audiences yet, but it's a great place to start for so many reasons. It's easier to get. It is. I mean, they're looking for wonderful people to, you know, promote and interview, et cetera, or run guest posts or whatever it is. So it's a little bit easier. You can develop a relationship there because you have no idea where they're going to be down the road. And here you were friends 5 years ago. You know, I mean, this can all lead to something really fantastic. It also gives you a chance to really hone your message and to make sure that you're saying it as succinctly as possible and in a really interesting, what we call sticky way, meaning memorable or sound bites. So as you're doing an interview or you know, whatever it is, you want to say things that are quotable. And I'll give you an example. I was listening to a podcast once, and it was a relationship expert, and she made the comment, when it comes to relationships, perfection equals pure fiction.
Ooh.
That is a sound bite.
That's a soundbite, yeah.
And I've remembered, it was 3 years ago that I heard that, and it stood out to me, and I've used it. I mean, I've helped this person so much, I don't remember her name, so maybe that isn't quite so helpful, but I do remember the soundbite. So when you have your key messages, this is something to just kind of, you know, tuck away here. You have your key things that you want to get across. Let's say you're doing an interview. What are the top 3 things that you're going to talk about no matter what? What are the most important things you have to get across? Have a soundbite related to that. So what's a way that you can summarize your point really quickly that's sticky, that others could remember? And also, it's good to have a story to demonstrate it. As you'll notice in this interview, a number of times I've said, for example.
I love it.
An example. You know, it's easier to relate. So you want to have those things for your messages as well, a story and a soundbite.
Yes,
so
and you know, Joe Dispenza is somebody that I listen to often, and you know what? I never ever get tired of his little sound bites, when he says your personality is your personal reality. Like, you just can't get sick of that. Because it's always right. It is. And, these little sound bites. And I think I'm really glad for sound bites. I have to say this because I often will get so excited about something that I think I'm just so proud of myself. I think, oh, that's really good. What did I just come up with? And I think I need a whole website for just that alone. And like, Lisa, it's a soundbite. Just work with this. Use it as a nice little topic. Don't make a whole business out of everything you come up with.
And listen, there's a formula for making sound bites too.
Oh.
And they're based on. So I do something called Savvy Sunday News, and this is not a plug. It sounds like
you
a plug.
Can plug.
Really
we want people to go see you.
Well,
yes, Savvy
okay.
Sundays.
So it just comes to mind that I did a whole post on the different ways that you can create sound bites. So, for example, here we go with examples again, remember?
Okay, perfect.
For example, triples. People love triples, like body, mind, and spirit. That's triples,
Yeah.
Using things. So if you have a key message and you can come up with what's another one? People want the happiness, liberty, happiness,
wealth, health,
and the pursuit of happiness. They come in triples. That's one way to do it. Analogies are great. Similes are great. Something in pop culture, that you take like a line from a movie, like, I'll have what she's having, or Toto, I think we're not in Kansas anymore, or frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. There's things that stand out so you can take something from pop culture. Yeah. So my point is I did a whole post on all these different ones that you can do. I call it Savvy Sunday News, and it's a way to figure out how to actually generate this. It's one thing for you and I to talk about it. Yeah, sound bites are great, but how the heck do what do I do now? So anyway, this is a way that you can actually, there's a formula for putting them together.
I think that's great that people should. And I actually was going to mention about your Savvy Sundays because I was going in your website, which is JoanneMcCall.com, and on that front thing, you just go and scroll down and join because there are so many tips, and I think this is where people just need to give themselves that time to just be with their message, and feel confident and comfortable. And that leads me to my final big question with the confident and comfortable is, what are some mistakes that we would maybe like to avoid? Don't do this kind of things. Like, really don't do that. That's not what you're going to do when you go out there. It's something that we should be aware of or be careful of or just mindful not to do.
Do we have another hour on this show? I nerve you.
Two.
Okay. Well, I'll be fast, and maybe I can include more than two. So, you want to be succinct. So you don't want to over talk and ramble. So no rambling. And you can test this when you talk to people. Like, let's say you're at a party and somebody says, well, what are you working on these days? Or what do you do? Or what are you spending your time on? And let's say you're writing a book and you have this opportunity. Oh, I'm writing this book. It's dating your diet. And then you say a few things about it and watch their eyebrows and watch their eyes. So if they lean in and they say, oh, tell me more. Oh, that sounds really interesting. Well, then what? Or what else? Then you've got them. You're onto something. If their eyes glaze over, you don't have it yet. You don't have it yet. So you're probably rambling. You haven't zeroed into it yet, but you will. Take that as good feedback. Okay, I don't have it yet. I remember going to BEA, which is Book Expo America. It used to be this huge book industry event. It was in New York. And right about the time social media was starting to really pop, like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. And I remember talking to a group of agents about social media and how great it was. I watched 10 people's eyes completely glaze over.
Oh, good.
But they didn't want to hear it yet. It was just a little bit too soon. It was too soon. They didn't want to know. But that's good feedback. It told me, okay, I don't have it yet.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Don't ramble. Okay. Don't ramble. Test everything. So don't assume that you can go to the top right away. Start small and make your mistakes, because we all make mistakes. Make them when they're smaller. Then people used to say they haven't done any media, and they'd come to me and say, "Well, I want to be on Oprah."
Yeah.
And I'd say, "Well, let's start in Decimal Point, Wyoming, and, see how you do, and kind of test these things before we take you to the biggest show in the universe. This was when she was on network TV, of course. Or even now, Super Soul Sunday, which she usually just has celebrities on, by the way. A lot of people want to be on there, but unless you're a celebrity, it's going to be kind of tough.
Okay, that's actually a good point. And that actually goes back to where you said build out your vision, in that timing. Build out the vision and then come back. So if you want to be on Oprah, if you want to be on anything, things, then that's great, but get comfortable. And yes, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made early on in the thing. Because we are going to wrap up in the next minute here. First of all, how fun is this? It's like I feel like I can feel everybody just listening, going, I want to know more. And and I also feel like you've been really gentle with us. And yes, gentle with that process. And like anybody can do this. It's just there's a formula. There's a formula. So how can best way, I've said it a couple of times, but the best way to find you and get your tips and just connect with you?
Oh, you've been so incredibly generous. Thank you so much. But, my website, if you sign up, if you just add your email address, you'll get the Savvy Sunday News. It's every Sunday afternoon because I figure everyone peeks at their email at least once over the weekend, and most of us more than that. But it's a good time to send it. And you can send me a note. I'm at joanne@joannemccall.com. And I check my own email, so I don't have someone else writing you back. It would be me. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear what you're up to. I'm always interested. That's one thing I love about my job is I get to hear interesting things that you've got going on. It's such a privilege to hear about it. I love it.
Oh, and you really do. I can tell everybody that because that's how it's always been from day one. So I want to thank everybody, first of all, for joining, and hopefully that you've got something. I know I already did, and I already know these things, some of these things. But and a big thank you to you, Joanne, with all your technology little not super struggles, but challenges this morning.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye everyone. Bye Joanne.
Bye-bye.